Welcome to updating software on the Telebs optical LAN system when using PON protection groups. This video outlines the process to perform a software upgrade with minimal outage time using PON protection groups. The topics covered in this video will be a process overview for completing a software upgrade with PON protection groups in place, and a step-by-step detailed instruction on how to complete the process. The software upgrade process is a straightforward task that involves staging the software on the Panorama server, downloading the software to the system's secondary software bank, and then switching operation to the secondary bank. Without the use of a PON protection group to a secondary OLT, this process can interrupt service on the network for up to an hour or more. When PON protection is used, this downtime is reduced considerably. When provisioning PON protection groups across two OLTs, the PON A port is considered the primary and the default for the normal operation. PON B is the standby PON interface. For the purposes of this video, the OLT containing the PON A designation will be called the primary OLT. The other will be called the standby OLT. The process to upgrade software begins with downloading software to both OLTs. Once the software is staged on the Panorama server, it can be downloaded to the secondary memory bank on each OLT. In Panorama, select the download application and the target network element. Make sure that the auto switch function is disabled. Begin the download process by selecting the software load and clicking Execute Download. Force all active protection group PONs onto the primary OLT. This is done by disabling all standby PONs on the standby OLT. In Panorama, PON ports can be disabled in the Protection Group Management interface. Select Disabled for the PON B admin state on all PON ports on the secondary OLT. Click Apply to save the changes. On the standby OLT, make sure the download completes successfully, and then execute a switch to the new software load. This action is not service affecting because service remains on the primary OLT. In the download application, select the Manual Switch tab. Select the Switch to version, and then click on Execute Switch to start the process. Next, switch all the PONs to the standby OLT that is now running the new software release. This is the point in the process that will cause some service disruption. All ONTs that have an updated load version will reboot and start running the new load. If the ONT load is the same, they will switch with a standard 1 to 5 second switch. In Panorama, open the Protection Group Manager. Re-enable the PON ports on the standby OLT. Then disable the PON ports on the primary OLT to force service to the standby OLT. The next step is to perform a software switch on the primary OLT. As with the standby OLT, this step is not service affecting because service is on the standby OLT. In Panorama, select the Download app and the primary OLT in the equipment list. Select the Manual Switch tab, then execute the switch. Lastly, enable all disabled PONs. Active PONs on OIU 8 cards will remain on the same PON. QOIU 7 cards will revert links to the primary OLT. In Panorama, open the Protection Group Manager. Re-enable the primary PON ports on the primary OLT. If the protection group is using a QOIU 7 card, the active port will revert to the primary OLT after the wait time is complete. This concludes this video. In it, you have learned a process overview for completing a software upgrade with pawn protection in place, and a step-by-step detailed instruction on how to complete the process.